Hello, hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to keep a minute or two here. AccuWeather meteorologist Bernie Rayno, YouTube Live here on the AccuWeather has given me their YouTube account, so I'm doing this right now. So I appreciate everybody coming on by. For those that used to watch me to do this on Twitter, the problem is boy, the video on Twitter is just it's just not watchable. So I'm doing this on YouTube. I'm going to post this on my Twitter account as well, so you can watch it. I have a lot of followers there. We have a big storm coming. I'm going to get right into it. Now, for those of you that follow me know that my concentration when I do these snowstorms is not the surface, it's not the QPF, it's the 500 millibars. We'll look at the surface, but I want to explain to you why I don't think this is a big snowstorm for New York City. Now listen, I made the comment it wasn't a big storm. It's a huge storm. It's a huge storm, especially for Boston. This is going to be a damaging storm if it really intensifies, which I think it will, because there's going to be a lot of wind, there's going to be a lot of coastal flooding. I do not believe this is a big snowstorm for Boston. I certainly don't believe it's going to be for New York City, but it is a close call. It is. And let me go over what's going on here. And for those of you that have watched me over the years know, what do we look for when we're looking for a snowstorm? We're looking for an injection of cold air preceding the storm. All right, I mean, that is the key. Now, we've got this upper low going over here. Here we are on Saturday. You can see this upper low leaving. All right, now, there is a little bit of a cold air surge coming in. A little bit. Let me show you the surface map. And as we get into Sunday morning, there's a little cold air. There's not a lot. I mean, when I'm talking about an injection of cold air, I'd be looking at like at least 522, 516 thicknesses as the cold air drains in, and then you set up the perfect overrunning for our next storm. You don't have that. You don't have that. And for cities like New York City and Boston, that's it. Now, doesn't mean you can't get it, but now what you need is you need the perfect track with the perfect 500 millibar, and if you don't have it, you may get precipitation, but in New York City and Boston's case, it's going to rain. There's enough precipitation for a big snowstorm in Boston, New York City, but you don't have the cold air, and the storm track's not right for you, and especially 500 millibar track isn't right for you. New York City is close, and I do think both of those locations, New York City, Boston, will likely get some snow. I'm very skeptical that it's over 3 inches though. I know Boston modeling is suggesting that, but you're living on the backside of a storm that's going to be filling up. You're going to have dry air wrapping around that. Your boundary layers aren't going to be all that cold, so I'm skeptical it's more than that. But let me go over what I'm looking at here. And, you know, Joe Lumberg and I, if you have the AccuWeather Network, we've been talking about this for probably a week or so. So here's what's going on. You have your upper low, and then you have this energy in the southern branch. Let me go to Monday morning, and this is a GFS. This is the European. Okay, so you go to Monday morning, upper low, energy going offshore, you see, and you've got this energy that's going out ahead of the storm, and that's out ahead of the 500 millibar, and that's where you're going to get the storm. This also looks to be a lot weaker than it was a couple days ago. But what I'm keying on is this upper low. Now, a lot of people just look at the surface map, and I get it. Here's the European surface map, and what do you have? You have a strengthening storm. That's the European GFS, and it strengthens and it wraps on in. I get it, and I'm not saying I don't look at the QPF, but I try not to look at specific QPF. But if you're staring at this and thinking, well, there's the 540 line, and it's south and east of New York City, you got to look at a little more for that. But I mean, certainly this is going to be a big storm because it's strengthening as it moves north. And on strengthening storms on the northwest side, you get heavy precipitation. I have no doubt that the modeling is correct, that on the north side of this storm, there's heavy precipitation. No doubt. But what I want to focus on is this. I want to focus on this, the upper low. The 500 millibar trough. Now, why do I do this? For those that have watched me over the years, I firmly believe that the modeling does a great job with the 500 millibar. I don't believe it does as good with the surface, and certainly not the QPF. So that's why I tend to focus on the 500 millibar. And let's look at the 500 millibar. Here we go, Monday morning. I'm going to show the NAM too. I typically don't look at the NAM until 24 hours before a storm, but what the hell. So here's your 500 millibar trough. This is the European. This is the GFS. This is the NAM. Not much that different. Not much different. There it is. But this is the key, I think, to how far west the snow gets with this storm. So this is the European Monday morning. Let's go to Monday evening. So here it comes. This is what I call a neutral tilt. It hasn't gone negative yet. So 7 o'clock Monday, European GFS, NAM. Pretty much all the same. Here's the key. Watch how this upper low. Let's go to Sunday morning, Monday, Tuesday morning. So here comes the upper low. All right, now, rule of thumb is you want to be on the upper side. You want to be the northern side of this upper low. By the way, here's your energy that's spawning the storm, and that's awfully close to Boston and New York City. That's why you're going to rain. You're definitely starting with rain in New York City and Boston with this storm. So you're going to waste some precipitation. And even in the southern tier of New York, a lot of these areas, you're going to start as rain. You're just too warm. All right, until the precipitation gets heavier, you're going to be too warm. Now watch this upper low as we get into Monday afternoon. Now here it goes. See, this is close for New York City because you want to be just north of the upper low, and you are here. Binghamton, even the southern tier of New York. You see that? I mean, the upper low is just off to the south of New York City. So New York City, you're a tough call. But if you draw this line here, central New Jersey, southern New Jersey, even northeastern Pennsylvania, you're done. You're too far north. So all this area, you're going to miss out. You're either going to get DDT, dry air, or you're just not going to get into heavy precipitation, and you're going to be too warm, and any kind of snow is not going to accumulate that much. Again, this is Monday morning, Monday afternoon. This is the European, and the other thing to think about here with the European is while you have one upper low here, you're going to have one upper low here. And what may happen is this upper low is going to weaken, this upper low is going to take over. Watch. See that? See how that weakens? So what may happen is, and I'm concerned that you're going to get a screw job here, or you're going to get a split, a little void in precipitation in here as this upper low weakens and this one takes over. And where is that? Southern tier of New York and into New York City. So I'm concerned about that. And there's the European. You see that? So then this upper low takes over, this weekends, so there might be a little rip-off zone in between that. Where would that be? Right across New York City and southern tier New York. Now the GFS, similar. See, you see GFS shows pretty much the same thing. Look at that. European GFS, European GFS, European GFS. You see, you have this upper low. It's a little too far north for New York City. I'll tell you where it is good, though. Up in here, middle and upper Hudson Valley. I think back in here, interior sections of New England, I think you guys here are going to get crunched with snow. There's going to be a big area of over a foot of snow, I think, with this. Let's take a look at the NAM. NAM, a little different. Now, the NAM is the mongrable one. No doubt about it. And you could see the difference between the NAM and the other models. See, the NAM just continues to keep this upper low. There's no second upper low. You see that? There's no split. It never develops this energy. See, it never develops this energy into the upper low over here. It just continues to barrel the upper low eastward. Now, this is still not the best track for Boston because you're going to warm up. But I mean, this is a closer call for New York City, right? And you can see the NAM surface. I believe this is the NAM surface. Look at the NAM surface. See, look at the heavy snow in Boston. I mean, New York City, that's a thump. That's a thump in New York City. Now, why is that? Because the upper low this is the stronger low, and it goes just south of New York City. Now, having said that, you look at the surface map and you say, wow, that is a big snowstorm in New York City. I want to show you the boundary layers for this, though. Here's the problem with the boundary layers in even on the NAM. So this is New York City, and this is the NAM. Look at the boundary layers here. Here's your QPF. So you're looking at the 850 temperature, but look at all this warming. You're at +4, +4, +4, +5. So all of this liquid, if the NAM is right, is rain. And you can make the argument that most of this liquid, 5800s, would be rain as well, because you're still too warm. And then by the time you get into this, your boundary layers are still too warm. And then what's left in New York City? Not much. So even the NAM, which I know everybody's on for New York City, to me this doesn't show a big snowstorm because the boundary layers are too warm. You're going to have a warm layer as well. Why? Because you don't have an injection of cold air. You don't have it preceding it. So that's why I'm very skeptical that New York City gets more than 1 to 3 inches. I wouldn't have any more than 1 to 3 inches in New York City, and hope you get that, because you're going to have boundary layer problems during this entire storm for New York. Let me show you a close-up of the 500 millibar here, and then we'll talk about other areas as well. So I want to show you a close-up here. Again, let's show the 500 millibar here for all these systems. So what I'm looking at now is the GFS 500 millibar. You see, here's the GFS. See, there's the GFS, European, NAM. Again, is this the NAM? No, this is the NAM. See, the NAM never really cuts off that upper low. See, it just moves it right over in there. That's why that's the more mongrable model here. All right, that's the European. I'm sorry. Where's the NAM? You know what? I did not get the NAM in here. My apologies. Let's get the NAM in here. I typically don't do this, but what the hell? Let's put the NAM in here, and we'll do the 12Z, and we'll look at that 500 millibar. Okay. So again, close up. This is the GFS. Tuesday morning, there's the GFS. There's the European. They're very similar. European. Sorry. Yeah, GFS, European. GFS, European. Again, they have that little void area in between. The NAM never really does that. It keeps the upper low in, right? You see that? It goes right over in there. Okay. The big snowstorm is going to be west. It's going to be in these areas here. I think lots of areas are going to get over 1 foot of snow in this area. They're going to get crunched with this storm. And you'll also notice, as we take a look at the surface map, because of the upper low, you have a strengthening storm. I mean, here's the European. I mean, you're going down to an 893, 893 storm. You see that? That's the GFS, I'm sorry. This is the European. You're at what, 989, 990. So this is going to have a lot of wind, a lot of coastal flooding, but the heavy snow is going to be back in here. I think these are the areas. I'm not so sure it's ever going to make its way up. There will be some snow in Maine, but I think the bullseye with this storm, and if you look, if you want to look at the bullseye with this storm, is back into here. West of Boston. Worcester's in a really decent spot, but it may be west of Worcester. It may be in here. Southern New Hampshire, western Mass, the northwest hills of Connecticut, perhaps, eastern New York. I think this area is really going to get bombed in here, and this may turn into a blizzard there. The other thing, there's going to be lots of coastal flooding and strong winds. So that's the thought with this. Now, some people are talking about backlash in Boston. Yes. And that's why I think Boston get an inch or two. But here's the problem with Boston. As you track the upper low, it starts popping off to your east, and yeah, you're on the back side. But the other thing is by the time Boston gets into the backlash, the storm is starting to weaken and fill in, because it's you get the heaviest snow when you get the intensification process going. By the time Boston gets in that, the storm's filling. You'll have dry air wrapping in and all of that. So that's why I'm not impressed for Boston with this. I'm really not. And in New York City, I'm not impressed. I think New York City, if you get 1 to 3, you should be happy with that, because I don't think you're getting any more than that. Now, as you get a little farther north in the southern tier of New York, you start increasing things a little bit here. Let me show you the snow map, and we'll talk about it here. So here's our snow map here. I'm even skeptical whether you can get the 3 to 6 inches down into here, into the Poconos, because I think the upper low is too far north. I wouldn't. I'd probably trim this 6 to 12 area a little bit, and I'd trim the 3 to 6 area in here. I'd have most of northeastern Pennsylvania in the 1 to 3. I really would. Once you get in, now once you get up into here, southern tier of New York, someone was telling me about Rockland County, maybe 3 to 6, maybe. I think you got to get up into the Hudson Valley more. But I wholeheartedly agree with this. A large area of 6 to 12 inches in here. I'm skeptical whether you're going to get that all the way in the Maine, quite honestly. I'll look at that in a second. I think this is the area that's just going to get crunched in here. Northwest Hills of Connecticut, eastern New York, in here. I think you're going to get crunched in here. Lots of double-digit snowfalls. Now, we just have it mainly 12 to 18 into the mountains, the Berkshires, the White Mountains in here. I get that, but I can see how this fills in. And a lot of this area gets over a foot of snow in here with blowing and drifting. All right. Boston, it looks to me like we probably have you into 2 to 4 inches in here. I guess. I'm skeptical that we get much of this in here. We have it even on the South Shore. I'm really skeptical of that. You're going to see some snow. Maybe you get an inch. But, Boston, New York City, an inch or two seems fine. I just think this is the area that's going to get crunched. Let's take a look at Maine. Brian Breton, my good friend, I think he's in Portland. Although he doesn't need my advice. He knows what he's doing. I even question, you look at the upper low track, it's here it is. Yeah, maybe that's fine. We'll see about that. I'd worry that a lot of this Maine area is not going to get 6 to 12 out of this. Because I think the storm's pulling out. You don't have a lot of cold air. I don't think you're going to get the liquid there. We'll see. But you know what? Maybe I can't rule out 7 or 8 in here. But I don't think you're going to get a foot. This is the area that's going to get crunched in here. And the other thing is be mindful across New York State with this. Once you get to Rochester and especially Syracuse, because what's happening is this upper low, you've got this conveyor belt coming back into here. You see that? Sorry, this is the GF. You see, on the GFS and even the European, you have a nice conveyor belt of moisture back in here. Again, you don't have an injection of cold air, but that's why you'll notice when you look at our snow map. Again, where did I put our snow map? I'm all over the place here, excuse me. You'll notice how we're trying to extend this back. I wouldn't be surprised if this 6-inch line comes back a little more. So I don't like 3 to 6 in Scranton. I really don't. I'd have 1 to 3 there and all of 1 to 3 in here. I think this is a little too far. I think this area is too far south as well. I don't think like Allentown and stuff, I don't think you're going to get much out of this. I'd probably take this back a little bit, bring this a little farther north like this. The 3 to 6, this is probably okay. And I would have most of northeastern PA 1 to 3. We'll see if I'm right about that. So here's our map, and I guess this is fine. So, once again, Philadelphia, D.C., you're screwed. And a lot of what's going on out here is going to be very minor because you don't have a cold air and you just have the trough coming in. Let's watch this area back in here. And again, this zone, southern New Hampshire, southern Vermont, Worcester, maybe just west of Worcester. I think a lot of this area, it's not going to matter elevation because you're going to pump so much liquid in here that a lot of areas, if you go down to a 989, you're going to have a large area over a foot of snow in here. I'd have 6 to 12 in Albany is okay. But that's my thoughts. That's what we're looking at. The worst of the storms Tuesday night. I hope that makes sense. So New York City, I like 1 to 3. I don't think there's anything out on Long Island. I think even like Rockland County, I think there's a winter specialist. I don't think you're getting 6. Can you get 2, 3, 4? Yeah, but I don't think it's more than that because I don't think the upper low track is right for you. I really don't. I think it's farther north in interior New England. I like 1 to 3 in Boston. I'm probably overdone with a lot of people. 1 to 3, 2 to 4. I don't think it's more than that because you're going to have to live on the backside of the storm, and the storm's going to then start to weaken. Then you've got all this dry air wrapping around, and you watch, it'll be lighter than what you think. But a lot of wind with this. This is going to be a huge storm for southeastern New England with coastal flooding, damaging winds, power outages, everything. Sometimes I tend to focus too much on the snow, but a huge impactful storm on New England. All right, that's it. I hope everybody has a good day. I'm gone 20 minutes. This will take forever to process. So thanks for joining me. If you like this video, check me out on my Twitter. I'm at AccuRayno, and I'll be back with you tomorrow.